What's the best way, or do you have any advice about balancing a full-time job while also trying to build something that you're passionate about? Because for me, I like working these guys and I like doing podcasts, but the full-time job, that tends to get in the way a little bit.
Sure. I think, the thing is, I think you always need to, you need to do the full-time job until you can't, it's costing you money on your other project. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like when the full-time job is getting in the way of you making, you're often making money on your project and it's taken away from that and you can afford to pay yourself on the project. That's when, you make that move. It's really interesting. Brian Smith, who's on the team, wrote this book called The Birth of a Brand. And, he really talks about how you have to work that full-time, you have to have your bills paid. You have to have a base. Because, people jump into these things and then you realize you can't pay your bills. And then you're really kind of going down a bad rabbit hole because you're not going to be able to do, now you're broke, you have no income, and the project's not giving you income. It's something that's going to give.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God, what's going on? Where am I going? Dad?
Yes, my son. I am Deuce, the deer god.
I'm so confused. Who am I?
Derek. Your true name is Darkules.
Wait, what?
Yes. You are Darkules, the god of the forest. Season 5. Hosted by your favorite podcast host, Big Bochi. You already know the deal, mother. What's up? And the double clap signifies the start of an episode. And before we start, everybody, I have two things I got to get off my chest. First order of business. Hey, everyone, this is Conor, Holway of the Golden Hours podcast. And listen, if you by chance get any sort of value from this episode, whether you laugh, you cry, you're entertained, or you learn something, dude, just share it with a friend. And if you don't have friends, you
shouldn't be listening to podcasts.
Definitely not. But if you do listen to a podcast and you don't have friends, listen to this one. Mm-hmm. Also, sidebar, I should not be marketing our event anymore on the 17th. It's totally sold out, but I want to just keep selling, man. We're going to open up one more table. So the first person to hear this, we're just going to do it. We have, as you guys will learn today, an incredible list of companies coming, supporting new startups, brands. GDP Hustle is going to be fat. It's our first real sellout with time to spare, which is awesome. It means our brand's growing, man. We're doing good stuff. It's awesome. Additionally, before I introduce our guest on the right, who's in the building?
It is Jack Bigelow of Golden Deer Productions.
Graphic God.
And Chris McCormick, live producer.
What's your nickname, though?
Young Fountain of Youth.
That's a new nickname. We're working it out. We'll see if we like it. Jack's nickname is Bixx. And on my right, so as I had mentioned, we have our event on the 17th, GDP Hustle. And it was important. I think this was my sales pitch on the phone. It was important to me to allocate only Boston-based resources for the event. So we have Coleen. I want to make sure I say last name right. Is it Eyges? Eyges. Close. And I know it's Velo and it's not Velo.
It is Velo. You are correct.
Velo like Jello. Everyone remember that. Say it with me. Velo like Jello. And Coleen has not launched Velo yet, but within the next month, correct?
Coming soon, yes. Hopefully.
Here, you can move in 1.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so February 1, we're hoping. We'll be out and about. We've done a bunch of events around the city. We've had great reception on it, and we're really excited to get going.
And so before we move on, can you just give a quick synopsis of who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Coleen Eyges. I'm the CEO, founder of Velo Vodka.
Why does that sound scary to say? This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's really awesome right now. And it will continue to be. So we're really excited about this brand. It's made with mineral water, so kind of giving you a little bit extra while you're drinking. And then we formulated it with what's called quantum frequency coding. So it's got a quantum frequency code there on the bottom of the bottle.
Yeah, we're going to have to get into that because that was way over my head. I had no idea what it meant.
It's pretty cool. It's really cutting edge. And, it's designed.
It's like you're drinking science.
It's infusing the the vodka with positive energy.
Well, I had seen it on the website. There was like all these like molecules and stuff, and I was like trying to piece together that. I was like, wait, I barely passed chemistry, so this is gonna be tough. So when I had done a little bit of LinkedIn research, because that's usually my first place to go to research, is this your first like real entrepreneurial startup? You were saying a little bit about the Bell beforehand.
So this
You've been working in banks for a while, right?
So I've been in banking for years, and it's given me kind of a great background. Before that, it was pharmaceutical sales, so kind of science, banking, kind of dry. And about 8-9 years ago, I developed this wrap you wear at home, and it freezes your fat off, kind of similar to My Cool. It's called My Cool Slim. Similar
My Cool Slim?
My Cool Slim.
My Cool Slim.
My Cool Slim.
For all the hot moms.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, who want to lose a couple of inches here and there.
Little muffin top.
Yep.
Get rid of that.
Yep, it's great. And so I've had that. That was my first project. It was kind of my first foray into doing entrepreneurial projects. Learned a ton, and it's still out in the market. We're still selling that.
Nice.
And so that
And you were
kind of gave me
banking
a
while you
background.
were building it?
Yep, always worked kind of 2 jobs. You know, we gotta pay
Did
the
that give you
bills.
structure? Like, has that helped, especially when you're launching this too? Like, do you think the first job kind of gives you a structure to help build the second one?
Definitely. To do a third project now would be, you make all your mistakes along the way, and everybody talks about, you kick yourself all the time. You're like, oh, why did I do that? Or, oh, that was not a good decision, etc. And then you deal with some people who are like real big time. We have some incredible advisors on our team. One of them founded Constant Contact, and the other one founded UGG Boots. And
Whoa.
yeah, it's super cool to have
Is that
them on our
Alec?
team.
What's
Alex
Constant?
Stern
Cool.
did Constant Contact, and Brian Smith was the founder of UGG. And it's always great to hear the feedback from them, and they're like, oh, you have no idea how many mistakes we made. Or, so when you read all these books on entrepreneurial, you watch the podcasts, etc., and they talk about like, oh, you're going to make the mistakes, going to make mistakes. Well, you're making them. They're miserable. But
They're terrible.
you realize that this is how everybody learns.
This is the process.
People who get there have made way more mistakes than they have like good decisions.
But they've
And-
made more decisions.
Yes, you have to be decisive. I totally think like it's just a question of kind of just do it.
Like keeping it moving.
Yeah, keeping it moving, keep moving forward, keep solving problems. You've got to have that forward vision. Definitely.
So you're doing My Cool Slim. Were you like just like sitting at home one day, like, damn, I really wish I had a 6-pack, and I kind of just want to keep watching the Patriots.
Well, actually, it's a really great story. So I went to an appointment years ago for cool sculpting. And I went in, and they were like, I'm a single mom, 2 kids. And I was like, oh, I need some help with my stomach. So I'm like, okay. So I go in, and they're like, okay, we'll do your stomach, and it's $1,200. And I'm like, again, single mom with 2 little kids, I can't be spending maybe $500 on myself, but $1,200. And then they took a pen and they marked me up from here all the way down to the back of my knee, and they're like, you need $8,000 worth of liposuction. Oh. And I was like mortified. I was like,
They like took the pen, like, this is all fat.
Total fat all the way down. And I was like, you walk in like thinking, oh, my stomach's a little chubby, and then you're like, oh, I'm all chubby. Gross. This is gross. I need $10,000 worth of work. So I left the office, and I was so pissed off. I was just like, kind of like,
I'm sure there are a lot of moms like that too. My mom is also a single mother, and she was always trying to find some little like health tactic to always get rid of her stomach fat. She was obsessive over it. Like, were you big into the diets too, like a Jenny Craig type?
like, sure, yeah, I've done Jenny Craig years
Did you
ago
like
when my
it?
kids were little. Well, it was fascinating. How are you paying $8 to eat a can of tuna about the size of a cat food can?
So you did not like
they're really
it.
smart people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it worked. But so basically I had been a drug rep, and I thought, this is cold. This isn't brain surgery. So I went home and started researching, and I started fooling around with different ice packs and gel packs, etc. And I did one leg because I wanted to like have a comparative. And in 5 weeks, I'd lost 1.25 inches.
Wow.
And I was like, I kept measuring and measuring. I thought, oh my God, like this can't, like I've got to be hallucinating. This can't actually be working. And sure enough, it did. And I thought at that point, I was like, what woman on this planet doesn't want to lose? Like, the supermodels must have a 32nd of an inch somewhere they want to lose somewhere. Like we're all women, we're all crazy, we're all obsessed with, this, that, or the
Physique,
other.
yeah.
So basically, at that point, I kind of started researching, filed a pattern, started finding a manufacturer. I manufactured in Fall River for many years until I went over to China.
How dare you?
I know. It's a tough choice.
Well, no, it's interesting when we had the e-com gods up. I was like, why don't you guys just do this domestically? They're like, dude, China is so cheap. Like, everything is so much cheaper.
Something that would cost you $20 to manufacture here costs $3 in China.
Wow.
You know, and when
We should put that in consideration, man.
into that margin, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you're trying to sell something affordably as possible so you can get it out to everybody, as many people as possible. And, you know, the difference between having to sell, you know, mark it up that much. And
having limited startup capital, too.
Oh, yeah. I kind of funded that whole thing for a long time myself. And then I actually, one of the coolest parts of the whole thing was, so there was this, have you guys ever heard of Tim Ferriss?
Of course.
4-Hour Work Week.
4-Hour Work Week.
So I read about, people kept telling me there's this guy who's talking about this in this book. And so I buy the book and I read it in like a weekend, like just, you know, sink it down. And there's this guy called Ray Crenese, who's out of Alabama, and he's a former NASA scientist. And basically, he's the world expert in mild cold stress. So I contacted him on a Friday night at like 9:30 on LinkedIn, and he writes me right back.
Whoa.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. So he ended up becoming kind of one of my advisors, partners in that project, and really kind of brought a lot to the table. And we brought in another plastic surgeon to consult, and we had drawn up a clinical study. We put it through the FDA. The FDA didn't end up requiring us to do a clinical,
Whoa.
but said we could go to market if we kind of kept the claims. Like, we can't say we freeze or kill fat cells. We can say kind of shapes, curves, you know, helps, etc. But, you know, you can kind of see the science in other companies.
Was there anything like this on the market beforehand? Or were you like the first one with one?
I was kind of really ahead of the curve with it. So there was a lot of educational process. So there was Cool Sculpting, which is an incredible product, and it's based right here out of Allergen, has it in Cambridge now. But there wasn't any, like, there were one or two minor home solutions, but nobody who was trying to scale it like we were.
Okay.
And then something came out of China, this other thing they've sold a lot of. I bought it. It's just kind of like, it doesn't really get that cold. It's not effective.
Can you pull it up?
Oh, sure. Sorry.
You feel that, right?
Here.
There
Okay.
it is.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Sorry.
How's that sound to you guys,
You
guys?
sound great.
Wonderful.
Thanks, man. That's kind of you. So you start My Cool Slim, and you're it's making money. It's a profitable company.
It's doing okay. It's breaking even. You know, it's kind of flowing.
But you must be pumped because you're like, I mean, I didn't really think I was just going to start a company and run it, right? Did you always have like entrepreneurial aspirations?
I think I did from a really young age. Like, I sold Avon when I was like 11.
What is Avon?
Avon is like that makeup. I don't even know if it's still out, where you go around to the houses and you drop off the book and people order things. And I mean, I was really young at the time, so I've always kind of worked.
So you were
hard.
hustling.
I was hustling at a young age. So yeah, it was pretty cool. You know what I mean? But you know, you always kind of feel like, how do I get to the next level? How do I get to the next level?
So, but when it had first happened, were you like, at first, were you totally balls to the wall with it? You're like, all right, I'm going to start this company? Or were you like, was it as soon as you'd realized the product was kind of effective, you're like, oh my God, this is my moment. This is that $1 billion product.
You definitely have that. Like, personally, I almost get like a sick to my stomach feeling, like for days. Like, I'm almost like nauseous, like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Is that what happened with Velo too?
Yeah, it did. I was just like sick for days. I'm like, oh my God, this is a good idea. I'm going to be sick, you know? But it basically, it took time, you know what I mean? Because I had no background. I had a banking background, so I had a little idea of how finance worked, but I had never built a company before. And there's just so many aspects to it. There, you know what I mean? There's kind of setting it up and the legal piece, and you're dealing with a product that does affect people, so you've got to be careful on that realm of
liability and stuff.
Liability, etc. Then, you know, there's manufacturing, which I find pretty easy. You know what I mean? It's just problem solving. You go, you find the manufacturer, you negotiate the deals. You've got to stay on top of everything to make sure it gets done. The marketing is where I think it gets really tricky nowadays.
Is it because the market's so oversaturated, or?
I think because it's so broad. Like, we've done most of our sales on Facebook. We've probably sold close to $1 million worth, which isn't a ton over
already.
Say, of My Cool Slim.
Oh, yeah. My Cool Slim.
Of My Cool Slim.
I thought you meant
over the years. So, and kind of work with people who have one idea and then you try it and it doesn't necessarily acquire the customer at the right price. And then, you know, I've worked with another marketing manager, and that's, there's just a lot of trickiness to finding the right channels to get it in and make sure they're profitable.
Well, have you tried to hire that out? I mean, Michelle is kind of a marketing master, right?
Yeah, I have.
She was telling me before that she was like, I got some specific questions. I think you should ask Coleen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear this.
I was like, hey, man, you're on the ball. Let's go.
She's great. So yeah, I have. I worked with a marketing manager on that project, who, which wasn't a great call on my part. He was a 65-year-old white male from Colorado, who was here trying to sell a woman's kind of fat reduction product.
And you didn't know how to send an email, man.
He just, he had his ideas on how to do things, etc. And I think nowadays, and this is more your generation, is like, you guys know, your age group knows how to get to sell better. To
we should
really
understand social media
target
better.
Yeah, exactly. They know the social media, they know how to target in, etc. And then you meet with like different people who are experts just in like infomercial selling,
Facebook
and
marketing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really kind of the algorithm with Facebook's always changing. So you can go have ads that are really successful and then they'll wane off, and then you've got to revamp it and find kind of a new algorithm, etc. So I think the toughest part for me was really, and I'm like a salesperson by nature. It is really trying to figure out the sales channels with that, and how to like we sold like $300,000 worth last year, which is okay, but trying to do that profitably is a whole nother ballgame.
Well, couldn't you just like totally pour all your money into experiential marketing if that's kind of your strong suit?
In terms of
like, I'm sure the face-to-face, you close tons of sales with the face-to-face, right? When you're actually directly in front of your consumer. Yes. Could you, like, I'm not telling you this what your business should do, but couldn't you just allocate a lot of your marketing budget to all in face-to-face marketing, like events, expos?
Yeah, we haven't really tried that. It's been more with the kind of the Facebook infomercial piece.
I'm just saying, I'd buy from you right now. You know what I'm saying?
I'll send you one.
Okay.
Give me your address.
let's
they
do
ship
it.
out of California.
Well, my mom will definitely use one. Your guys' mom would.
Yeah, my mom probably would too. They'd be interested.
There we go.
Sounds like something every middle-aged woman would probably be interested in.
Want to be a little bit hotter.
Yeah.
There you go.
But on your point, I think nowadays, like, it's hard to get those face-to-face interactions. People are getting out less. They're more on that internet, and in the age of data, this might be the best way to go.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I just like for instance, I love selling all these tickets online to this event because it's dope and it's fast and it's quick. But like, there's nothing like closing a sale in person. Mm-hmm. Especially if you believe in your product and you go up to someone and be like, "Hey, listen, man, like this is gonna help you a lot." And then they buy it. You're like, oh, my God. You know what I'm saying, right? Like,
yeah,
you've sold stuff.
The energy behind that is fantastic. And you walk away feeling like
it's a rush. Like, you're pumped.
Yeah, it's like, for me, the entrepreneurial stuff is like nothing makes me feel more alive than doing
the sales,
this stuff.
right?
Yeah, than doing the sales and meeting the people. And when you do it with vodka, for instance, when like I have to go out and talk to the owner of a restaurant or a bar or something, or a beverage manager, like that is just, it's so much fun.
It's a rush, right?
It's totally awesome. And you get that interaction. And plus it's like the hospitality business. So everybody's friendly and excited,
Oh, everyone, free booze. Everyone's pumped.
I know.
Everyone's your best friend, right?
Yeah, you get a lot of best friends fast. Definitely.
Yeah. Especially when you have a podcast. Oh my God.
Yeah. Does everybody want to be in your podcast?
Well, I think a lot of people want to be interviewed. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think so. Everybody likes
everyone likes to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it, though. Don't worry.
No. I could get you a few good people.
Whoa. So the belt is done. And then you were kind of explaining before you got here how the inception of the idea for Velo. Can you kind of elaborate on that? Yeah. And so this whole time when you're running My Cool Slim, you're going to the bank.
Yes, I'm working in banking full time.
But you're thinking about your product nonstop, right?
Yes, and I have like a whole bunch of ideas. Like this is like there's 5 or 6 after this one.
What do you want to get done right after this?
I've got a few ideas, but they're not trademarked yet. So.
Okay. All right. Don't tell anybody.
I can't tell anybody what they are, but I've got some people working on them, so that's kind of fun.
I'll tell you one thing I thought of. Sorry to interrupt you,
yeah,
Jack. Today I was thinking, like, dude, can we get Derek on a Band-Aid?
Yeah, of course.
Like, couldn't we do some sort of partnership with Band-Aid? Like, our deer would look perfect on a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Like, you've seen Mickey Mouse on a Band-Aid. Why not Derek? And you could design it.
Let's make it happen.
And let me just go schmooze whoever's in the front office. But come on, man. We're hardworking. Let's get it done.
I like it.
All right, my guy.
You could totally just go online and order Band-Aids with your logo. They can logo everything. You should
That
give
ruins
out
all
like
the fun.
free deer tattoos. That would be fun.
Well, since this will release after the event, can I tell you something crazy about what's going on at the event?
Are you doing that?
Not that, but we do have an artisan barber coming.
Ooh.
He's giving out free haircuts.
Oh, that's really cool. I love it.
But I'm wondering, how do we make this like co-ed? Because you can't really, right? Isn't it like just for dudes?
I mean,
Unless a girl wants a buzz cut, right?
well, yeah, I don't know.
You might be able to do those like little like designs on the back of the head. Some girls like to have like the little back of their like behind their long hair, have it shaved.
Oh yeah, that looks cool. You should do a deer. Can they do a deer into like
On the side of my head.
Totally. You should do it. Totally.
Would it make my hairline look better?
Probably.
Oh, God. Okay. All right. So, again, how does Velo start?
So Velo started at, as I mentioned, I have 2 kids. They're in their 20s. And my older daughter is like the concierge of finding the best places to eat. So on a Sunday, they're like, can we go to brunch at this place?
She's a
found
foodie.
a total foodie, great taste, best concierge you'd ever have in the house. And so she finds this place, Bootleg, in the South End, which is kind of, I think it's on the corner of like Harrison and Mass Ave or something.
Okay.
And we go, and the menu's really cool, and everything's good. And it's kind of like a place you walk in. It looks like it was an old bank. Like you walk in, and then you step down like 8 steps, and there's just like big restaurant in front of you. So we go, we order our food. The waitress is like disappears, nowhere to be found, the whole meal. And I'm like, can we have some ketchup? Can I get some more? Like I literally went up to the bar and took the water pitcher off the bar to brought it back to the table because we had no drinks.
And you're like, you're getting no tip.
Yeah, I was kind of like, yeah, but there's a good ending to the story. So, and I grabbed another waiter to help us with something. So, I mean, she's like literally MIA for like 30 minutes, and I'm getting more aggravated and more aggravated. So finally, we see her roll in the front door, and she's got this big thing of Pedialyte and this huge thing of ginger ale. And I'm like, oh, she's hungover. And I look at my kids, and I'm like, oh, she's hungover. And I'm like, why aren't they just putting the damn Pedialyte in the alcohol? Like, why is this even happening? It was just like this common sense moment of
why does vodka dehydrate you so badly?
Yeah, well, all alcohol does, absolutely, especially if you're not drinking with it. And if you're not paying attention while you're out drinking, that, if you're not hydrating while you're drinking or kind of working on that whole thing, I mean, I'm sure we've all been hungover.
Never.
You should try being hungover when your kids are really little and they're like jumping on the bed. Oh. You're like, you're sick if you keep jumping on the bed. It's not feeling so good. So basically, I said that to them, and the 3 of us looked at each other. They're like, yeah, why? Like, what a great idea. Now, you can't go putting Pedialyte in vodka because Pedialyte's a branded, trademarked product. Mm-hmm. However, I found a distiller in South Boston. Kind of started researching, love researching. Found a distiller, Matt, at Grand 10 in Boston, who I think you guys know, who's phenomenal, like chemist, formulator, distiller, and basically said, okay, I want to, create a vodka that tastes fantastic, A, but B, has some minerals built into it with mineral water. And basically we went through about 3 rounds of tasting, trying to come up with this formulation and really kind of we own the formulation and, adding minerals to the vodka. So basically, making you feel more refreshed, kind of if you're, minerals hydrate.
The age-old question, at least when I was starting out drinking and like got more and more hungover as the years went on, was why don't they have a solution to this brutal hangover? And this could be it.
I can't say that we're going to cure a hangover by any means. There's a lot of laws around this, and you can't make any health claims as an alcoholic beverage. I mean, alcohol is alcohol; it's not exactly good for you. Yeah. However, we consume $12.6 billion worth of it every year.
So why not do it in a healthy manner?
Well, why not just feel better? Do you know what I mean? Like, why you don't have to feel as bad, And for me, like, getting up in the morning and having to go work at a bank, I don't want to feel crappy, And
you want to go out and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and I just want to go out and have a few drinks. I don't want to go out and drink half a bottle or that. But, the older you get, guys, the more you feel it. Trust me.
That's what my cousin 38 was saying recently. He was like, dude, I just can't bounce back the way I once used to. Why is that? Is there something scientific about that, or you just don't have the same fervor?
Yeah, probably the cells in your body are aging. You know what I mean? Like your body's just, 38 years older than it was 18 years before when you were 20. And, even like cuts healing, for instance, you know what I mean? Like things don't heal as well when you're 50 as they do when you're 20 or as quickly, or, you go out and play, say you guys went out and played basketball really hard in your 20s and you just get up the next morning and go. But if you went out and really hammered it in your 40s or 50s, you might wake up the next morning like, oh, a little stiff and a little this.
We don't know what that's like yet.
No,
I'm scared for
you're
it.
Babies.
Well, no, what's interesting is a lot of people, when I was growing up, 50 or like 45 seems so old.
Totally.
But now it seems like people aren't even hitting the pinnacle of their career at 45.
Yeah.
That's like a cultural shift recently, right?
I totally agree. When I was a kid, 50 seemed so old. My mother seemed old when she was like in her 30s and 40s. And now, you know what I mean? It just, I don't know. I think there's just so much more health and wellness awareness. We eat.
People are so much more careful about their diet.
We eat better. We go to the gym. People aren't smoking like they used to, et cetera. So I think, wellness is just such a trend that's starting to tick up more so. And, it just keeps on going. And then as science advances, I mean, there's so much cool stuff in the scientific community around here that comes out of MIT and Harvard, et cetera. Like one of the coolest things, and I can't necessarily explain this really well, but you could look it up, but MIT is now programming information into water molecules.
Does that work with your...
Don't scare me.
No, I'm not saying anything about vodka. but basically, like we're kind of like moving towards, I think, this kind of a greater awareness of like quantum physics and how it kind of all works. And, especially here with these two colleges, it's just like so much. And then all the pharmaceutical companies are here. Most of them are really kind of based out of here, or they've moved headquarters for research here.
Is Pfizer out of this area?
I'm pretty sure they have a presence here.
Shire is too?
Yep, Novartis.
Vertex.
Yep, Alkermes is one of them. There's so much cutting edge science that goes on just, with these pharma stuff, and then like related to the colleges.
Was that a benefit to you in starting Velo because you had the scientists like right here?
We really didn't use. I'd say it's the science around here is more of an inspiration overall. We didn't need a scientist to do this. We had our distiller do the formulation. We'll eventually kind of come up with some new products and kind of doing different things with adding to, etc. Between flavors and maybe what's in the bottle, etc. So, eventually, for right now,
you don't have
just
to
kind of have this. Well, it's always fun.
You know?
I mean, why not just make everything better if you can?
Exactly. Well, question. So, I had it written down, but my phone died. What is the science behind, like, what's the time between Velo and vibrations, and how does it affect the product?
So basically on the bottle, you can see here, I used this woman who's one of like the top world experts, and it says frequency coded, and there's a number here, and then the number continues on the back of the bottle. So basically, and what kind of like you'd hit a note in a piano and there would be a vibration, there's sound waves traveling through frequency, etc. So basically the code, we created this frequency code, and each number has kind of a frequency vibration to it. And
the wavelength.
Yep. So it's got an energy to it, essentially. So the code's been created based upon, infusing it with positive energy. So when you're distilling the vodka, are they actually manipulating the frequency code? No, not at all. The code is kind of on the label and, on the bottle.
How do they measure the code?
wouldn't say they measure the code.
Okay.
But you know what I could do? I could totally get her on a podcast for you. That would be really interesting.
She's probably way smarter than I am.
No, I actually was chatting her this afternoon, telling her I was going to be on a podcast. She's like, anytime you want me to come on, I'd love to. So she's super industry, and she does a lot of healing and energy work, etc. So, like, I think if you asked Elon Musk what a frequency code is, he'd be like, yeah. Or Tony Robbins, like, these people really get it. So this is kind of, it's very cutting edge. In California, they're really kind of into it. Here in Boston, people kind of look at you first like, huh?
You're a pioneer.
What are you talking about? And then you explain it to them, and they're like, oh, that's really cool.
And then they're like, will this get me drunk? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, all right, we'll buy it.
We don't want to get anybody drunk.
Yeah.
You want just getting people buzzed, right?
Just want people to enjoy the vodka
So
responsibly.
Yes.
does that make you nervous as an owner sometimes because you're selling a product that can get people totally smacked?
I would never want anyone to get totally smacked.
It does happen.
I'll tell you something super personal. When I was a freshman in college, my father was hit by a drunk driver.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He died the middle of my sophomore year of college, kind of related to the drunk driving. So I am like, of all people, it was funny, somebody was giving me a little lecture the other day on overserving, and I'm like, I am the last person that wants to overserve anybody. I just totally... You know what I mean? Like, people drink to get drunk. There's no question about it. We're kind of putting out a product. It's up to them. Some people will have one drink. Some people might have 5 drinks. But, it definitely makes me nervous. Like, I would not want to be on the side of overserving someone by any means, especially if it affected them or somebody, from there.
A product like this, too, you feel... at least from an outsider looking in, somebody that's going out and getting Velo Vodka is probably cognizant of the fact that it's healthier for you, so...
They're making a conscious, healthy choice. Yeah, you're
kind
right.
They're probably not the people that are going out and drinking 30 beers or
House in Rubinoff.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
a different target market.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a different target market.
Yeah.
Our price point will end up being about $24.99. So we're definitely not at the bottom of the barrel. We're looking to sell a super premium vodka that tastes good. So far,
What's Tito's?
I'm pretty sure it's a premium.
Yeah.
Tito's is a brilliant company. They've done
Their marketing was so smart.
They did a brilliant job. Do you know how long they've been in business for?
No idea, but I do know they just built in Austin and then they grew nationally, which was like genius.
So take a guess.
4 years.
20.
Wow.
So that's kind of the neat part, is that everybody thinks these things happen overnight, but you know what I mean? 20 years later, but great company, great product, et cetera. This is a little bit of a different taste profile. And, we're kind of looking more for I'd like to say, like, we're kind of like, I feel like the people that drink us are kind of like the smart, sexy, like to party, but like work out, healthy, etc.
Like, I know we talked about this on the phone a little bit. Like, your target market is millennials. Well, anyone who will buy it, right?
Sure. But I think primarily millennials are kind of more into this kind of
healthy
wellness lifestyle.
Okay, this is going to sound really dumb. Guys, brace yourself.
Okay.
But how is vodka made? Like, I don't understand the distillery process.
So basically, this is a corn base, and I've not really sat through the whole distilling process. Usually our distiller, brings in the product. He processes it through there's the big, huge vats. You guys should go over and see him sometime. That would make for a great episode. And it's a great distillery. It's really cool. But they process it through, and then I think they get the ethyl, which is the pure alcohol, and then they cut it from there.
So they put a bunch of like corn in a grinder.
I think it ferments. They put it in these massive vats. They're probably like
look like a silo
feet,
kind of.
They've got many of them. Some are copper, some are different things, do different things, and it has to stay for however long. And then, it ferments, and that's what kind of where they're getting the distillation process from. But I'm not an expert in that by any means.
So how does he manipulate the taste, and where does the mineral water come in?
So the mineral water comes in the second half when they go to cut it. So if you had 100 proof, for instance, so let me back up. So this is 80 proof. So it's like 40% alcohol and 40% water. That's kind of how it goes. So if you just poured pure alcohol into a bottle, I don't know if that would be 200 proof or it would. I think it's more than 100 proof.
What is absinthe? That liquid that gets you smacked. Like people drink it and they go blind, like moonshine.
Oh yeah.
I think it's like 160 proof.
So you can be more than 100 proof.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't be more than 100%, obviously. But like I think it's probably 200 proof is the highest. But I'm not sure.
200 proof is probably like pure.
Yeah.
Alcohol, no.
Good night.
Go water. Oh my God, I can't even imagine. I'd probably smell it and be done for the evening.
It's like rubbing alcohol, right?
Like jet fuel.
Jet fuel. You're done for days. So let's get the math right here. Not a big math guy. So 40% of this is water.
So it's called 80 proof.
Okay.
And again, I'm not the distiller. And it's 50% alcohol, 50% water.
And so what is the proof?
80.
And what is proof?
It's just the measurement of alcohol. That's how they measure it.
Okay. I get it now. Seem like you get it?
Yeah.
Can you explain it to me then?
I mean, from what I understand, proof is just double the percentage. And it's so any percentage that you have, the proof is going to be double that. But like an alcohol expert knows it as proof, but I don't think it's much to know for us, right? Like
it would almost make sense if it was 50 proof because
Yeah.
it's half alcohol, half water.
Yeah.
We actually had this initially up at 85 proof because we were kind of trying to find something different. Super smooth, but some of the people in the business told us to dial it back because it would hit them too hard.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember freshman year, kids would be like, dude, we just got some new shit.
100 proof.
It's 100 proof.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, dude, I feel terrible after drinking this stuff.
Wait, so is this 50%? This is 40% alcohol, correct?
So this is 80. It's an 80 proof,
Yeah.
which would be 40. I'm pretty sure, though, it's 50-50.
Yeah.
Dude, the math is over my head.
I'm not sure I'm
I don't think it makes sense either.
Yeah.
It's 80 proof, but because it's balanced 40-40.
So, question. Why start an alcohol company? I understand you have the inception of the idea. Is there a benefit to starting in the Boston startup ecosystem?
Well, I think for us as the team, so we have this incredible team of people, which I kind of started to mention before. So we have Alex Stern, who is one of the co-founders of Constant Contact. He's one of our advisors. Brian Smith, who did UGG. He's the founder of UGG. He's another one. And then we've had other people on the team who are like incredibly connected in Boston. We have a movie producer who's on the team, who's done a lot of stuff locally.
Is it Chris Meyer?
Yes, Chris Meyer's on our team.
Is he actually?
Yeah.
Did you know he's been on the podcast?
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, that's
Isn't
my
he?
guy.
Oh,
yeah.
I love Chris Meyer.
He would be associated with the booze coming. That guy's wild.
Oh, he is the nicest guy. He's
a great dude.
Totally awesome.
He helped us out a lot when we went out to LA. He was like, these are all
really?
these restaurants you got to go to.
Yeah, he is like connected and he just like knows everybody and everything. And
It's a free spirit. He came here, he like gave us toy trucks and stuff. The guy was the man.
Oh, I am blown away on days when I'm like, I can't believe how I got these people together. It's just like the greatest thing ever.
I know, I was seeing like movie producer in Boston. There can't be that many, right?
So then there's this other gentleman, David Wedge, who
Can I tell you something crazy? He's been on the podcast too.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But he goes by Dave Wedge.
Yes, I call him David, but Dave Wedge. And he's another one who's just extraordinary, and he's got a new book coming out about Whitey Bulger, I think in May. The launch is coming out, so that will be exciting. So he's got the, great Boston connections. Then we have another gentleman who's been helping us out, who's he's just the connector. He knows everybody in Boston, and we have some other people on the team.
Can you give me his name? He might have been on here too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can get him on your show, but
okay, cool.
I'll let him tell you. But so it's, and then Michelle Kimball, who is our CMO, who's incredible. So all of us here felt that all our connections are here. We're based here. The distillery's here. The restaurant connections, etc. So we really felt like launching in Boston. I mean, Boston's like a hip, cool, like
awesome city,
incredible city, and it's got kind of science, and it's like got the edge, and millennials are moving here in droves. I think that number is way up. So we just felt like I wouldn't know anyone in New York City yet. It would take time to kind of get there, but here in our hometown is like to have to create a vodka right in South Boston, and market it and launch here. We're like psyched to do it.
You grew up here?
I grew up in the South Shore, yes.
Cool. So when you say we're well connected, you mean like with specific restaurants and retail locations?
Yeah, just kind of like restaurant connections, connections, just friends, people knowing each other, in the club scene as well as in the restaurants and the liquor stores. We're all kind of based here, and where we have a bigger team, that's really where the benefits come from, is different people knowing different things, different people in the industry. So, and I've been out and talked to probably 100 different venues already. And
you've been selling like a maniac.
Yeah,
Let's
ready
go.
ready to sell. Okay,
ready to sell.
I can't wait. It's killing me every day. And they're just excited. The restaurant people are like, yeah, we want to put something on the shelf that's from our hometown that we're proud of. So,
yeah. Questions? Anyone? Jack?
Sorry. I'm afraid if you have already answered it while I was gone, but what's the background behind the name?
Oh, cool. Yeah. So, we were trying to come up with a name, and, you go through these lists and lists. That's kind of the fun part of these projects too, is like the naming of that, usually writing up a list of like 100 different options. And we were looking for something scientific based. So we were coming up with like quantum, frequency, velocity, et cetera. So we had this long list of kind of scientifically names because we wanted to do kind of like a scientifically oriented vodka. And basically we did a focus group of millennials, about 20 people, and we had kind of landed on velocity, and I like that, and like the concept of velocity and things taking off and movement and all that good stuff. And we asked the focus group, and we kind of said, well, what are you ordering when it's like 12:30 at night? You've had a couple of drinks. And they were like, Tito's and soda. And we're like, why? And they're like, because we can say it. So we were like, okay, maybe we better make this 2 syllables. So that's where Velo came from.
I like it.
So, it's Velo Vodka. We looked at a lot of other names too, which was like V Vodka, which would have been kind of fun, but that's taken. So, there are a ton of boozes out there with all these different names. So it's interesting trying to name something and trying to feel like you're coming up with the right thing. But
yeah, so going
Hey,
back,
Bixx, by the way, great question. C-Mac, ready for it.
Going back to like your professional work and kind of balancing the first entrepreneurial position and now this, and you're not still working at the bank, are you? Or
She is?
yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So well,
do they
that
know about
helps,
this?
they're different names.
Okay.
I use different names. So, but most of my day is spent in banking. The the evenings are spent out doing vodka stuff. And I do have a huge team of people. So, I'm lucky that I kind of focus on more of the CEO stuff and, trying to move it forward that way. There's a lot of people that do, the other stuff for us, which is great.
I get it. Well, so C-Mac, for instance, he works in accounting, and I think he's eager to have his own entrepreneurial startup at some point.
So yeah, and I'm sure some of the listeners too, they work full-time jobs. So like what's the best way, or do you have any advice about balancing a full-time job while also trying to build something that you're passionate about? Because for me, I like working these guys and I like doing podcasts, but the full-time job that tends to get in the way a little bit.
Sure. I think, the thing is, I think you always need to, like, you need to do the full-time job until you can't, it's costing you money on your other project. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like when the full-time job is getting in the way of you making, you're often making money on your project and it's taken away from that and you can afford to pay yourself on the project. That's when, you make that move. It's really interesting. Brian Smith, who's on the team, wrote this book called The Birth of a Brand. And, he really talks about how you have to work that full time. You know what I mean? You have to have your bills paid. You have to have a base. Because, people jump into these things and then you realize you can't pay your bills. And then you're really kind of going down a bad rabbit hole because you're not going to be able to do, now you're broke, you have no income, and the project's not giving you income. It's something that's going to give. Mm-hmm.
So, have you noticed that there's a benefit to having your back against the wall, though? I have in certain situations. Again, I'm not super successful, so I can't say I am. But like,
make it a podcast.
But like, I've noticed if it's like a high pressure situation, I actually end up performing much better than I would if it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think definitely there is. And when you get investors in, that's what they want. They want you in like crunch, that you have to, it's kind of do or die. And I think for me, these projects are definitely obsession. You know what I mean? They just become like tunnel visioned obsession that you're like, I gotta get this done. And, you kind of like, you go through this phase like, oh, wow, this is great. I could get really rich, et cetera, et cetera. But when push comes to shove, finally, for me personally, I'm like, I need to accomplish this. Like, I need to see our team's bottle on the shelf. I need to see, however many cases. I want to be in Times Square and see that billboard. I think that's incredibly rewarding. The money piece is great for anybody, but
it's seeing it through.
To kind of seeing it through, seeing, that you can see it through, it's an accomplishment. Most people in the life won't be able to do it, will never do anything. And you have to have a high tolerance for risk. You
gotta love it.
You do. And it's very...
So I could tell you as soon as I met you, I was like, yeah, Colleen's got a motor. You can tell. Well, you can tell when certain people are kind of nuts.
Thanks.
But wouldn't you rather be obsessed than like just be normal?
Oh, I'm so bored.
I would be
totally
too.
Bored. I mean, there's times when I have this project and my other project, and I'm like, and I'm working my job, and I'm like, kind of bored. Like. Well,
I hate dead time, don't you?
Yeah, I need, or my brain's going about some other project. Like kind of like, oh, you could do this, or I'm like, maybe I should take up guitar.
How do you manage your time right now? Are you 16 hours a day for the most part?
Probably. It's kind of, it goes all the time. Like sometimes with the vodka, it's more evening work. So I can be out late, like maybe at 5 or 6, I'm going out to do an event or go see some people in the industry to kind of,
networking.
We're ready to go networking or kind of like, here, try the vodka, see what you think, or, you can order in a few weeks, etc. And then, the day starts at like, I'd say 6, 7, off on the regular job. And I've
that's till what, 4, 5?
Yeah, 4 or 5. It's kind of flexible, we're kind of like in a commission-based situation. So you really can kind of do work as hard as you want, etc. It's so easy. I've been doing it for 17 years. So it's kind
you
of
have
like
a pipeline of clients, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's built up over the years, like in any industry. So it just gets easier and easier as you go along.
Yeah, so to answer your question, C-Mac, what Colleen I'm essentially saying is like she already has a bag coming in. So like her job is convenient now more than anything to help build the other. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like if I was going to go change careers and have to start working for a new industry, new company, and really dedicating like 10 hours a day to that. Mm-hmm. But for years and years, when my kids were really little, I worked like 10 to probably at least 10 hours a day in mortgages, and like I'd work all day in the office and I'd go home and I'd be sitting at my computer at night emailing people, talking to clients, putting in loans, etc. So it's just a matter of like kind of what balance it is.
You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but did you and your husband divorce?
Yes, I was divorced when my kids were 1 and 3.
So my really mom and my father divorced when she had 3 young kids too.
Oh my goodness!
And she turned kind of like you into total overdrive mode, and so she was like, it changed me forever because she had 3 kids underneath the age of 5, and she just became like a total competitive animal. Uh-huh. Did that kind of happen with you too?
Definitely. I didn't get any child support alimony. So it was kind of like, here's a 1 and 3-year-old and go figure it all out. And it was really like the rug being pulled out under me. But I had always worked from the time, like I said, I was 11, and I always grew up like in a very working class Irish upbringing. So it was like I worked 5 days a week in high school in the church rectory, serving dinner, and like I'd always worked. And when it happened, it took me several years to really stop being angry about it. But then as time goes on, you realize like you have like skill sets, you have abilities, you have accomplishments, you can,
because you made it work.
You totally did. So someday I kind of tease that someday I hope to win some great award and I can get up there and I'd like to thank my ex-husband for being such a jerk.
F that guy.
I'd never be here without him being, without kind of getting into this position.
Well, see, that's what I was talking about, like having your back against the wall. That was kind of your moment.
Yeah.
It was my mom's moment too. It was the same way.
So what did she end up doing?
She's now like a kind of a pop-in financial planner.
Oh, cool.
And I honestly, her work is way over my head, but I do know she's very successful in what she does.
And you should be, I bet you're really proud of her.
In adulthood, I've appreciated her way more because I'm like, damn, she had to do everything.
Yeah, I think that's what's interesting about my kids. If they've gotten older, they start to kind of really realize, they're like, wow, like my daughter.
I got a rock star mom.
She could give me a really hard time. It's funny. We drive each other crazy, but she's like, my mom's the boss. So it's always nice to hear it when she says that.
Have you noticed your kids have certain work ethic too now?
I think they're kind of really, they kind of get the creative business mind, which is neat. So they can kind of see more opportunities. My son had this great idea recently for an exercise, kind of like an exercise class. He wants to be a Navy SEAL someday, and he's like, oh, it'd be so cool if I could take classes from Navy SEALs or former Rangers, or like imagine going to the gym and you could go to sign up for the Ranger class tonight. Yeah. I mean, like how badass would that be? So, kind of getting them thinking, getting them kind of creative, thinking about doing something different. Like you don't have to go down this traditional path.
Oh, so you didn't stress college on them?
No, they're he's taking a semester off, so he's in college as an engineering major, and she works with some realtors at the moment and is getting a realtor license. So definitely, I think college is incredibly important. I did college.
Where did you go?
I went to St. Anselm's.
St. A's.
For a few years, and then.
And let me guess. You're from the South Shore. You're Irish Catholic. Watch this. I swear to God, I'll get this right. And if I don't, I'll take a shot of the Velo right now. You definitely took classes at UMass Boston.
Oh my God, how did you know that?
I call bullshit.
You went to UMass Boston, right?
That's where I graduated from.
I said LinkedIn.
Oh, there you go.
No, because every single
do a shot anyway. Yeah. So
every single person in my I will take a shot. But every single person in my family has taken a class at UMass Boston.
Yes.
Let's try it.
There you go.
Will I be able to drive out of here?
Oh, yeah, just one.
Yeah. It's mineral water.
Can you give me a little cup, Jack? Is that okay?
I can.
Makes for a little bond tent. So listen.
That's so funny.
You guys will be drinking this at GDP Hustle.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. And you sold out, right?
We're good to go.
That's so
Beyond
cool.
sold out.
That's a week from tonight.
Tomorrow.
A week from
yeah, it's Thursday.
Friday. Oh,
it's Friday night.
It's Friday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll be here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally going to be here. We're going to bring you guys. We have the coolest, we have these really cool, fun, light up ice cubes.
Oh.
So anybody who gets a Velo drink, we'll throw some ice cubes in there, and the whole place will be lit up blinking.
That's awesome. I'll do it.
Which will be fun. Definitely.
Okay. I'm just doing a little. Do you want one?
I'm good.
You make me drink alone?
I'm good.
Well,
maybe one of the guys.
Velo. It tastes like Jello.
we gotta do Velo Jello shots.
Yeah.
Went down mad smooth.
It is.
And I'm drunk. There's no burn. There was literally
really
no throat
smooth.
burn. Wow, that was great.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
We'll cut you up a clip for a little promo.
Oh, I love it. We would totally appreciate that. So
Jack's just waiting for me to get drunk.
does it take much? Is he just like a cheap date?
One shot and
I'm a huge lightweight.
Really?
That was great though.
Thank you.
So how many times did you test it out? A gazillion?
A lot.
We
had a lot of tastings to go through, and our house has been very popular with 21 pluses coming over and trying the vodka, and all my daughter's friends, they'll all pregame at our house.
So what for you, because you're kind of like a type A, kind of like me, like you want to go get stuff done. Like
totally.
What do you want? Where do you want Velo to be in 6 months? Like in your mind, like in 6 months, what's 6 months? July? That's where I'll be. That's what will be going on.
So we'd love to, we're kind of shooting, to sell 10,000 cases this year would be amazing. So basically, we'll launch in Boston, and then we're looking at some other markets in terms of probably New York, Florida, California. Those would be our next picks. We've had conversations with some crazy people in the music industry, where it's something where we might do something joint with them.
Sponsor a tour, maybe.
Sponsor a tour.
Whoa.
We've been, there's just all sorts of kind of connections and places we can go. The first key has been getting this distributor nailed down, because now we can just be out in Boston. And then once we're out in Boston and we're like, okay, we're in 300 restaurants, it's going to be much easier to go to New York City and California or any place and be like, look, this is flying off the shelves here. You folks want to have this.
How do you cut through in such an oversaturated market? I had this question for a protein bar company we had up here too.
Sure, and I can imagine that's a really tough. Well, I think you need differentiators for sure. You need a high quality product, which we have.
I attest, it was great. Do you guys want to try a little bit? Just take a little shot.
All right.
Yeah, I'll take some too.
Here, do you mind
Yeah,
if I pour in some?
go right ahead.
We should have done this at the start. So you guys were talking
We got loose.
Yeah, you got a bottle plus. I would have grabbed a third one, but
Nice.
Bring a
Good.
ton.
yeah. Well,
What are you and Michelle bringing? 2 cases?
we'll bring enough for everyone.
So come February 1st, is it?
Yes, February 1st.
What is the the big content run or like marketing in order to like for the whether it's the bars or
So basically, we're kind of the game plan is to wrap social media around the venues we're in.
okay.
And really kind of work those, do parties based upon kind of the venues that we're in.
Okay.
In terms of that. And, I think it's just going to be out there promoting, having people try it, kind of creating the buzz. I think we've created a great buzz about it. One of the companies we're working with, we wanted to work with this specific distributor, and we're finalizing that. But it turns out the vice president's daughter was at a party we did.
Okay.
And she went home and she's like, Dad, have you heard about Velo? Like, are you guys going to have that? So it was neat. We were in there already talking to them, and then we were coming in from different angles, and different people in the company are like, what's this new vodka coming out? So.
And you were like, it's Velo. It tastes like Jello. C-Mac housed
tastes
it.
better than
What do you
Jell-O.
think?
It is very smooth. There is no bite.
There was no bite.
Yeah, it's
that was
pretty
wild,
impressive.
man. I was pumped.
Yeah.
Jack, give it a try. You're gonna be pumped. We hate throat burn.
Oh, it's the worst.
Wow.
Dude. Yo, you got me hooked. Wow.
Are there people that enjoy the taste of vodka? I know most people don't, but are there people that you are missing by? I mean, I guess there is still the vodka taste to it, but do you think you're missing?
Some people want that harsh, nasty shit, is what you're
See,
saying.
I'm asking if there are, because I don't really know.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who wants the burn?
Yeah.
I mean, aren't there other alcohols you can drink that give you that
I'm
burn?
thinking like whiskey is the one where you can kind of drink, and I'm a fan of whiskey, and I like drinking it like on the rocks, but I don't think vodka's really that type, so I guess it's not something you're missing out on.
A lot of people do drink vodka on the rocks. Vodka is the most consumed spirit.
Okay.
Like, I think probably 30%, 40% more than any other spirit.
Yeah.
Like most people drink vodka. That's kind of where we started with this was because it is the most popular spirit that's drank.
And where do the spirits stand in terms of beer, wine, spirits? Is it right down the middle?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it might be 40-60. A lot's changing, like with the millennial market, and the last few years, like the data trails. But you're really looking at vodka alone is like a $12 billion market.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I have seen that beer is starting to kind of slowly
It's the whole
decline in
health
growth,
thing.
Yeah.
and spirits is becoming more popular.
People wanna be
Yeah,
healthy.
exactly.
Yeah, you're even seeing this movement. I read an article in the Globe just after the first of the year about like now there's all these like mocktails coming out and non-alcoholic or like the
That's
seltzers
what Peggy was just talking about.
with the less alcohol consumption. You know what I mean?
You have a lot more people doing like sober October, dry January kind of. So it is kind of going that way, and I think the health. But that is Peggy was. If you want to,
there's the woman who owns the space. Peggy was just saying that she wants to organize like a dry event because it's like some sort of it's like trendy.
yeah.
Quick question on a health tip. So one shot is how many calories?
It should be around 35 to 40, I think.
Damn, that is nothing.